Good afternoon, all, and welcome to another edition of the Sal Greco Show. And I'm your host, Sal Greco. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to all in the comments right now. Good afternoon to everybody there. If you're watching us on the Finest Unfiltered Network on YouTube right now, please hit that like button, hit that share button, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching us on Rumble, please hit that Rumble button, hit the like button. And if you're watching us on X, live right now, streaming all over the world, please hit the like button, repost this, and don't be afraid to share this with many in your circles that you know that you can identify that are low information. There's so many of them right now in New York City. They really need to be informed because that's all it takes in the world, folks. Once you're informed, you can start making informative decisions. Some of this low information stuff I've been seeing in the last couple of days is outrageous. Outrageous. So what am I going to get into right now? I'm sure everyone here knows that probably if you had like a Rocky movie and I was involved in it, my opponent would none other than Eric Adams. Eric Adams is my rival because of basically the situation I've been put in and the fact that I've exposed them at every turn. So this finally hit over the weekend. Eric Adams' campaign is over. His campaign finance problems are not. Okay. So Eric Adams finally stepped out of this race. He's lucky to have just stepped out of this race because, as you know, he should have been in jail. He was very guilty over no matter what this guy screams, very guilty of numerous crimes. Not only the crimes he was indicted for, but the ones that he hasn't been indicted for. The stuff that we are still awaiting on investigations that they were doing in the New York State Police Department as far as the executive level goes, that also reached up towards his office and things that he was doing. So this is like getting off easy right now. But he has been trying to raise money. Okay, he owes the Campaign Finance Board right now $10 million, essentially, because that's what he stole when he was indicted. That all came out. It was $10 million worth of funds. And then recently in the campaign now, which I began to expose of his ongoings at that former shady nightclub in the Bronx, Con Sofrito, where there was all kinds of, besides the criminality you heard of, all these allegations, there was campaign finance stuff going on there. You know, you have to report when you do fundraisers and receive money in these locations. So that from that moment on, the 2025 campaign of Eric Adams for mayor, right? This campaign, he also has campaign finance violations there. So all of this, the Campaign Finance Board has been investigating him. The guy is a mess. You are the company you also keep. This guy either has brought in highly corrupt, low integrity individuals, or he's the one corrupting certain individuals as well, who are now their lives have been shattered. The guy is the gift that keeps giving. But he had this video, and I wanted to play the video of him. There's a couple of things he said. So let's hear the illustrious mayor of New York, who I hear the same story every time with him. I could almost recite what I'm about to hear, even though I haven't watched this.
Lowering the cost of living, investing in quality of life, and staying laser focused on reducing crime and disorder through investments in policing, mental health, substance abuse care, homelessness services, and community-based initiatives. But I must also sound a warning. Extremism is growing in our politics. Our children are being radicalized to hate our city and our country.
So there's people being radicalized against New York City. I think the ones that are in the street are radicalized already, and he's done nothing about that. And listen, why is it that everything he does, my mama, I was dyslexic. I've heard the same song and dance over and over and over again with this guy. Special Hagen says he owes his lawyer another $3 million too. There's no way he bowed out without having those debts paid. He continues to slither out of one situation to the next, I, I'm telling you, that it really is. He's like a Norwegian rat. You know, there's one of the other guys involved in his scandals with Eddie Caban, the former police commissioner in the NYPD, whose brother co-owned Conso Frito. And, you know, it's whoever this guy is around or has, you know, in his administration, they either are corrupt themselves or he corrupts them somehow. I mean, there's like 30 different scandals or something in his administration, and he puts up a picture of his mom. I wouldn't even be discussing, because you have to you know, split your family from you, because you clearly are if you think you're the breadwinner of the Addams family, think again, because you've brought nothing but shame to yourself and everyone around you, including your family. Because I don't know if they've if they brought you up to become what you did, what you made yourself into. It is more. It's from some kind of book that's going to be written on him. And I don't know. It's a woman that had a basically a no-show job, commissioner of sports and wellness. And there's rumors about that. I'm not even going to get into that. But then there's more. There's another part of this video I wanted to show you, because he's just, and I mean, it's just like over and over again with this guy, what he spews out. Let's hear this.
And yet, despite all we've achieved, I cannot continue my re-election campaign. The constant media speculation about my future and the campaign finance board's decision to withhold millions of dollars have undermined my ability to raise the funds needed for a serious campaign. I hope that over time, New Yorkers will see this city thrive under our leadership, and the policies we put in place should be continued and expanded. I hope you will see that despite the headlines and innuendo, I always put you before me, always.
Yeah, he put you before him as he was getting wine dined and pocket lined at every single restaurant and nightclub, shady ones at that, with criminals lining up his own pockets. He really thought about you. And he wants to expand his own policies. They didn't even work. Crime is through the roof. What is he talking about? And here's what's really going on here. This is just hit today. Brock Pierce, you know, whose buddy was indicted because they abducted somebody in New York City, where Eric Adams' security helped them abduct them into a building down in somewhere near Little Italy in New York City. Brock Pierce lobbying New York City Mayor Eric Adams to get back a mayoral race with $1.1 million super PAC donation. What is that going to do? You think a guy who's polling less than 10%, no matter what happens, with an unfavorable rating, or his unfavorables are actually around 69 to 70%, can win? He'll embarrass himself. And this guy doesn't like losing. I know that. He's a big macho man in front of camera, and he thinks he knows it all. But there's a little more to this, because I had posted something, and this is the real reason that he left this race. It's not because he wanted to. This is the real reason Eric Adams pulled out of the race. Steve Witkoff should be investigated with anyone who was caught up in this fiasco and quid pro quo. Andrew Cuomo is much of the same. Mamdani has campaign finance issues. Curtis Sliwa is the best and only choice for mayor. These two headlines right here. The one on the left, Adams' allies push Trump ambassadorship and a New York City casino bid tied to his veto. That's in Politico. That's what I've been telling you about over and over and over and over and over again. About the Woolman Rink, right? Trump wants his name on there. And the Ferry Links, which is the Bronx old golf course that Trump owned, that he would stand to make $115 million if that becomes a casino, now run by Bally's, which is Steve Witkoff is the middleman for that. That was all came out in paperwork. And of course, the board approved that casino to move forward to the December 1st hearing. And ultimately, December 31st is when they give the licenses out. So the quid pro quo that you saw with him getting off his charges involved Steve Witkoff. In the background, I'm alleging you seeing Boris Epstein and Emo Bove, who's Boris Epstein's friend. Steve Witkoff, also Boris Epstein's friend. You have Artie Idala involved with Frank Carone. They were also in the background with all this stuff. But predominantly, Steve Witkoff, who is somehow, I don't know if he's the real president, because apparently he runs around and tells Trump what to do. Big real estate guy that knows nothing about anything but real estate, and he's just protecting his interest. He's the broker to bring in Eric Adams into the fold. So what you saw with Eric Adams and how he's trying to manipulate the Jewish community, and now he thinks he's Jewish when we already know what he has done for Louis Farrakhan and them. It's all a scam. Just like this thing right here. He's supposed to have some Italian Heritage Night. This at Gracie Mansion, Tuesday, October 7th, right? He's done so much. Like, we have 2 cops right now that might lose their job over CCRB nonsense. 2 Italian cops. Where is Eric Adams? I don't see an invite to the Italian American Civil Rights League. This guy hates Italians. I'm Italian. He hates me. All right? He hasn't tried to settle my case. He's doing everything he can to slow it down. He terminates me for being Roger Stone's friend, yet he's trying to butter up to Roger Stone in a picture, and he's buttering up to Donald Trump, who's now the president, who at that time he's called an insurrectionist. This guy is highly conflicted. You can only pray and be thankful to the Lord that this guy will not be the mayor. Unfortunately, it's not December 31st. Now you know it's a free-for-all from here to December 31st. So it's actually a good thing, but it's bad at the same time, because now you know from here on out, all kinds of stuff. Expect a lot of moves to happen within his administration, outside the police department. It's a free-for-all, okay? But to say we didn't see this coming, I don't know. I told you he was not going to win. I don't know. I didn't think he was going to bow out because he owes money. Campaign finance, you have to give that money back if you're out of the race. So where's he getting that money? Who knows? Maybe Brock Pierce will pay the bill, you know? So that just, goes to show you. And to another point with this election, for all those that say Curtis Sliwa now must bow out, because listen, let me break this down to you, how politics work, especially to a Bill Ackerman. Bill, you're a financier, you're a good investor. You're not a politician. You have no idea what you're talking about. Your money influences things, but you never ran races. You never worked behind the scenes. You're not involved in the intricate work of a campaign. You know nothing. It's like me trying to tell you, invest in something. Who am I to tell you we're a billionaire? So for you to think, or anyone to believe, that this latest Fugazi poll that shows Mamdani at 45 or 40%, and then Cuomo at 30, and then Curtis Sliwa at 18 or 19. This is after Eric Adams just dropped out, who had 8% or less himself. You're all thinking and assuming, take Sliwa's 19 to 20% and add it on to Cuomo and you win. You have beyond mistaken. You have no idea how politics work. The voters in New York City that are voting for Curtis Sliwa right now are people that despise Cuomo. Cuomo terminated them from their jobs. Cuomo had their relatives get killed at the nursing homes during COVID. He also locked people down. He told you where to go, what to do, how to live, and then he mocked you with his brother on CNN. All while then he left in disgrace, because now he ends up costing taxpayers millions of dollars in settlements and legal fees. It's all official. It's all out there. By the way, Cuomo's under a federal investigation, allegedly, but he talks to Trump every day. So nothing to see there, folks. You don't find that funny. Someone under investigation is talking to the president, and it's the president's DOJ investigating him. Where have you seen that before? Oh, yeah, that's right, Eric Adams. So that in itself should be every red flag you need to know he cannot win. But the 30% has been the same 30% we've seen, whether it's 26, 28, 30. That is Cuomo's ceiling. Curtis Sliwa, on the other hand, from 25%, now you're starting to see in these fake polls, which is the mainstream ones that are all like paid for by the billionaire real estate racket. Those polls show him now at 20. So he was at 12, 11 in those polls. Now he's at 20. So in these other polls, you're starting to see Curtis rising. Why? Because the Cuomo voter, Sliwa, he appeals to them. He could take Cuomo's voters. Cuomo will not get a Sliwa voter. Those people will never, they will rather sit at home or just vote themselves in than vote for a guy that destroyed their life. When you on Bill Ackman will never understand that because he's a billionaire. He doesn't know how a life can be destroyed. He destroys lives with his money, whatever he's investing in stuff. He can hurt people like that, but he doesn't know how to have issues because he could just buy his way out of it. And many of you are the same there in New York City that are echoing his sentiments. Curtis is not going anywhere. This is really a race between Mamdani and Curtis. Cuomo should be the one to step down because he will be losing yet again like he did 20 years ago when he first ran for governor and got smoked. He's doing this because he has nothing better to do. He had $6 million to play with, but he couldn't win. If he would have held out, he could have been the governor. Unfortunately, that won't happen either. Here is Bill Ackman here. Thank you, Eric Adams, for your service for our city and for stepping aside when the time was right. Curtis Sliwa, you should follow Eric's lead for the good of New York City. Hey, Bill, why don't you give your entire, whatever you're worth, hand it over to New York City to pay their bills? I could say that too, right? I mean, and Eric Adams' service to the city. Well, you live in a protected, guarded tower. So the freaks in the street that are committing crimes, they don't even know where you live or what you're doing. You have nothing to worry about. You have security. While the average New Yorker is getting assaulted, attacked, punched, and thrown onto the train tracks. So, I mean, these are out-of-touch people. Don't make the low information mistake because that's what they want. That's what they want you to do is to remember that, listen to me, I know better than you, I'm high and mighty. And when this is over, they go right back to their palace, and you never hear from them for another 4 years or 2 years or whatever it is next election. I mean, here, Frank Brescia said, Cuomo and his brother Fredo mocked all of us. That's true. He did mock you. So now you're going to vote for him? Because that's what these guys are expecting. And then there are people that are supporting him that say they support victims of sexual harassment, yet what did Andrew Cuomo do? I guess that goes out the window. The grift is more important than the facts. So just remember that. A lot of snakes out there, they're all shedding their skins, like Frank Carone, who left Eric Adams to go jump to Cuomo's thing. Frank Carone, that was Eric Adams' main guy. Brock Pierce mentioned, Frank Carone said, I don't even know who Brock Pierce is. I'm sure they all don't know each other. It's a pit of snakes. That's all I'm going to say. That's his dirty little circle there. Joe Williams says the radio station owner, who will remain nameless, says Curtis will drop out middle of season October. I wonder who that is. Middle of October. Curtis is not, I'm telling you right now, he's not. And he's got plenty of money to keep going. And he won the Republican nomination. He's on the line 2 times. He's got 2 boxes. Cuomo's on the second line. No one even knows he's there. Really, this is like politics 101. Radio station owner. I wonder who that is. Well, getting back to now what's going to happen under Eric Adams in the New York City Police Department. It was a little issue that occurred in the last few days. So this was something I broke. 2 alleged recent incidents at the NYPD Aviation Unit, now under the leadership of Deputy Inspector Ronald Ramos with Chief Wilson Arambolas. Both are not pilots. Remember the name Ronald Ramos. We'll get back to him in a little bit. On Wednesday, August 13, it's alleged a Bell 429 was destroyed while being operated. One of the main rotor blades were damaged and had to be replaced, unlike the $40,000 tail rotor replaced on the Bell 407. The main rotor blade on a Bell 429 cost $500,000. This incident was kept in-house. The second incident occurred on Thursday, September 24th, during the recent visit from President Trump. 2 NYPD helicopters are alleged to have experienced a near collision accident in the air above the congested New York City area. According to both the pilots, they nearly collided into each other. This memo was distributed to the pilots regarding deconflictions in the air. However, like the previous report, it was kept quiet. Both photos of the damaged rotor blade and the inner memo given to the pilots are attached. Both of these incidents require an immediate notification to the NTSB for investigation. If you see that, the actual reports on there, it details everything step by step, and then look at that damage. So just to address some of the Joe Coppers out there, they were trying to say, well, this is just a paint job. It's nothing. It's all this stuff. It's all nothing. Everything's always nothing. Of course, it'll cost $500,000 to fix that. It's always nothing. And the Joe Coppers ran cover. And they think that I do things because I want to destroy careers or whatever it is. This is a reflection of the guys running the show. Now, if you're Joe Cop running around and you're being, and here's the report on screen, and you're being favored because you're a crony of one of these people, then of course you're going to run around and get upset at me and anyone else exposing these things. This has been going on for a while in aviation, and it's a big problem there. It's also a problem who is in charge right now and how this all went down. And there's a lot of stuff that's going to come out, but this was intended to show the ineptitude of the leadership in the New York City Police Department, because at an executive level, this is a failure. This cannot be held in-house. The taxpayers are responsible for that amount of money, including Joe Cop, who lives in New York City. You're going to have to pay for that. The same ones that, I can't believe you're saying this. I can't believe you hate cops, bro. Or whatever what some people were saying, that really low information people. I wonder how do you even become a cop? But that's what you're hearing about. With that, that's the pushback from people that don't want this out there. The reality is a lot of people looking into that right now, and it goes beyond what occurred. But now you have incidents that occurred that were not related back to Winston Faison, who was the former commanding officer, and you understand that there were things going on with the deputy chief Richard Taylor that was getting flyovers, and there's rumors about people that are getting like special helicopter tours or using the helicopter to go places, like the former police commissioner, Eddie Caban, like the current police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, like the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams. There's a lot of problems there. It's just not Faison's the worst. Let's pin everything on him. That's always a mistake, because unless you have these facts lined up, it's going to blow up in your face. And then Eric Sanders in the comments says, yes, indeed, more to come on the aviation unit real soon. I'm telling you guys, you're all in for a rude awakening. Joe Cop, beware. Or maybe be hiding under a rock. Or the best line will be to Joe Cop, I didn't tell you to do that. What are you saying? So then this is the next post I put up. Conveniently, the next day, the NYPD, coincidentally, the following day after the aviation incidents were exposed, enlisted for a detective, a police officer, a sergeant, as well as detective and police officer fiscal specialist at aviation on post in the NYPD intranet. What a coincidence. Now, post is where you would go to look for job listings in the NYPD. If you want to get transferred, you look for where they're looking for position-wise. Right on the screen, what does that say? Aviation Maintenance Technician, Aviation Unit, right? And then further down, it says that they're looking for the fiscal specialist. So if there's anything I wrote that's not true, that they were, quote, this was the quote from the Joe Coppers, they were just debris that were already investigated by the FAA. It was just a small report. I didn't know that the FAA could clear something in 2 days. The other one was a month ago in August. That's cleared already, according to Joe Cop. And then the September 24th incident is also cleared, according to Joe Cop. Something isn't adding up. And the only reason anyone would throw a deflection is somebody is in trouble. Who that somebody is, I don't know. But the bottom line here is that a New York City taxpayer, including Joe Cops that live in New York City and real cops that work and know that this is wrong, they're responsible monetarily. So that's why this has to come out, because it hasn't for years. You know why? There was never an independent media company or anyone independent even exposing things like this. So for decades, you got away with it. But tough luck. Times are changing. You know why? People need to know what's going on. If there's accountability, things would stop. I'm sure you don't want. Well, that part costs $500,000. What's it going to cost to actually put it on the helicopter? That's going to cost them $1 million plus, right? Because you need labor, parts. That's going to cost money. And then you got to redo the whole helicopter. And that's just one. Could be more because two of them hit each other. Whether it's a mistake, that part, I'm not really, not blaming the pilots. I'm blaming and looking at executives. Why are you covering that up? Oh, because it would fall on you. What are the procedures too? I don't know. The memo, like, is the track there at Floyd Bennett Field supposed to be cleared? Is that written anywhere? What does the commanding officer do? They have a list of things. This is all going to come out, by the way, because the patrol guide, the NYPD, which everybody is like, bound to the patrol guide, but there's rules for each place you go to. What are aviation's rules for how you're supposed to handle where the helicopters are, where they land? Isn't that supposed to be cleared at all times? Where is the commanding officer? All these things are going to matter, but this is designed so that you know about these things. It's very important. You can't just say, it's nothing. This happens all the time. This happens all the time. So it's all the time. We're going to spend $500,000 for things because a commanding officer doesn't want to admit that something happened, because it's a simple accident. But you made this simple accident into a big problem now by covering it up. Just like if a radio motor patrol car, the NYPD car, has an accident and you don't tell anyone about it. That's a problem, right? You can't do that. Who's going to be responsible for that? Same thing. The commanding officer will let it be known. Why is he going to hide this? Why is the NYPD going to hide that? That's a big problem. And like Eric Sanders said, accountability is like kryptonite within the spoil system. That's the issue. Because again, this isn't the cops per se or the detectives per se. It's the executive and the chief. But now, before I moved to have Marlon come on here, I got my Marlon Bethel come on. We got a lot to talk about. But this Inspector Ramos, it's funny that he's there because he has no business being there. And I'll tell you why. The commanding officer of aviation, Deputy Inspector Ronald C. Ramos, had 2 alleged incidents in aviation that may cost $500K recently, was charged by the NYPD for criminal association, was promoted as NYPD. He went from the lieutenant to captain to now deputy inspector. Meanwhile, the NYPD terminated me for being Roger Stone's friend claiming criminal association. They said my conduct was unbecoming of a police officer, but Ramos he was using department computers to boot, something the NYPD said I never did. That's the official document right there. He lost 15 vacation days. This is a summary of employment history. You'll see right there. It says charges and specs, improper use of department reports and data, associate with known criminals. Only 15 days. How did he only lose 15 days for this? Versus me. He must be terminated. Detrimental to the police department being Roger Stone's friend. Can't be a Trump supporter. Oh, no. Can't do that. Oh, you didn't do anything wrong, Sal, but you have to be terminated. That, my friends, is what you call a comparator. Much like Kaz Dodry, who should have been terminated for perjuring himself in his cases. There is 2 different treatments for people. There's the 3-tier system, like Eric Dim always says. And we're going to get to that in a little bit also. There's something that just happened with that, with a 3-tier system. But Ramos has no business being a commanding officer. In fact, no business in the job, period. What he did is far worse than what I did, yet he falls forward. And Eric Adams was not the mayor when that happened, by the way. So This is a NYPD institutional problem. And guess what? I'll be waiting for you in court, because if you think you're going to treat one person differently than the next person for the same offenses, if not one a lot worse than the other, you have another thing coming. But that shows you why aviation has the issues that it has. So without any further ado, I want to bring up my brother from the Finest Unfiltered family, Marlon Bethel. You're muted, Marlon.
All right. Afternoon, guys. Right. Afternoon, Sal.
All right.
Yeah. We got a lot to talk about here. And so last week, we talked about Frankie Palawachi's case. Let's hope I actually pronounced it well this time, because we've been butchering Frankie's last name for a while now. But anyway, anyway, we talked about when I viewed the trial and what I saw there. Today, we have the opportunity to actually show you the transcript from the trial itself. So I'll just briefly go through the case, but I advise you guys who are watching this to go back and view our prior episodes with Eric Sanders and the first time I was on, to really grasp the minutia of the case. Why I'm on today and to bring up the actual testimony is for the point that it's larger than Frankie's case. It's about the department. It's about how the department works. It's about how the department likes to rubber stamp failed policies, and how they push the failure of those policies onto the individual cops and make it a case about them rather than the actual failed policy, which they should have known better and corrected years ago. In this case, Psychmedics, the testing company, right? They Boston rejected their usage of Psychmedics years ago, because Boston had a case of cops who sued regarding it, and basically it came out that there's problems with the test when it comes to the texture of hair and the texture of the hair shaft itself, right?
Yeah.
But so Boston later on went on to sue the Psychmedics themselves, and in their lawsuit, they actually use the words of negligence on the part of Psychmedics, and how they omitted certain things, throughout their procedures. So the point is here that this procedure should have long been evaluated by the NYPD after that, and had they done it, we wouldn't have been here. But the problem with the NYPD is that they do not like to correct their failures. And as we've seen time and time again, and you guys who are on the job still could surely attest, that a bad policy is never really a bad policy when it comes from above, because God forbid you tell that chief or that white shirt or whoever's in charge that that's not a good idea, and that it's going to be a problem for the department later on. And I can tell you personally, because of my experience with Deputy Chief Surgeon Joseph Kufo, who we'll get to in this. So we'll run through this based. I put it up on Twitter so we could easily follow along and kind of go through the testimony.
Yeah. And I want to say this. So we have an article up on the finestunfiltered.com. I think everyone should check the site out. We have a website up now. There's a lot of features. There's more to come on there. But we have a section where it's news or newsletters. And we write articles, or we bring you things like this. So we wrote an article today in regards to this case. There's quotes in there from his attorney, Eric Sanders, also from Frank Palaguacci himself. And it says right there, NYPD upholds termination recommendation on failed drug test. Attorney pushes back. So a lot of what we said on the prior episode a couple of weeks ago was mentioned in there, but also there's a lot of facts. And the facts are, this was not a scientific method and never was. The fact that Boston PD ended up getting sued, had to reinstate people, admitted that this test is a fugazi. Then the company itself, they sued Psychmedics. Psychmedics right now, whose stock is extremely low, and admits that their tests are not it's there's no scientific method to it. They can't really determine anything. They're in trouble, and the only people or company that seems to be using them is the NYPD, who in the trial room starts to make crazy assumptions and just, the things that they were saying were ridiculous. It says right here, the city of Boston paid $2.6 million in settlement in 2023 to settle a federal discrimination lawsuit filed by black police officers who claimed the Boston Police Department's BBT hair drug test produced racially biased false positives. And actually, it goes beyond race. The whole test itself, no matter who it is, it's a fugazi. All right. So let's go through this one by one, whatever you got, Marlon, so that we could show. And there it is. That is the stock market for Psychmedics. You notice how it spiked up and then dropped, but they're not worth a lot. They're trading for $2.11, and the company in their own reports in the the
SEC.
Yeah, and their own report tells you the test is not reliable. So I don't know why they even do this and how they use this to railroad people in the police departments. It's not the test. There's no scientific method to it either. I don't know what to say. So Frankie Palliucci, shout out to him. He's in the chat. He says that's a penny stock. Yeah, get Jordan Belfort on the line. So yeah, it's a penny stock. So. What is that? Let's go to the first exhibit that you have, and let's start breaking this. That's a SEC 10K. That's it. The 10K report. You'll notice Psychmedics admits this test is not feasible. It's no scientific method, and they can't determine 100% that this is accurate. So how the hell are you still using it in the New York City Police Department? So, Marlon, what was the first thing you have up? The first graphic.
Yeah, so Jack, if you go to my Twitter, okay. So the first one that we're going to talk about, so we're going to go through the testimony and point out why exactly it's a kangaroo court. And the first point is that it's a kangaroo court because your lawyer is going against not only the department advocate's prosecutor essentially, but he's going against the trial judge, who in this case was Assistant Deputy Commissioner of Trials, Vanessa Facio Lynch. Okay, scroll down, go to, I put up a Twitter that says the NYPD news conclusions in their final decision, Jack. So once you go there, you can scroll down to it. But basically, right, we're going to go to number two in the comments. It says that basically, she wouldn't allow the SEC form 10K on there. And now, which is I don't understand in particular, because that is itself a legal document. Okay, it's a legal document that public companies or other entities require to file with the federal securities laws. Okay, and it is a legal document that you can use on trial. You can use in court, and you can definitely use to sue a third party who's using that in their processes. So I don't understand why. I'm not a lawyer, but I couldn't understand why that isn't in there. But there's some behavior by her that I just didn't understand myself, because I thought she had to maintain a certain degree of impartiality overseeing the case. But as you'll see, go to number 3, Jack, you'll see that she allowed quite a bit of a speculation on the part of the department's experts to come on. First, she allowed speculation from the first expert, from the city, which was Psychmedics, a director at Psychmedics. He's Dr. Ryan Paulson. Okay. She allowed the speculation, and when Eric Sanders objected, and she allowed it, and later on you'll see that he actually states, I'm speculating. Okay. Her reason for allowing it, she calls it his professional opinion. Okay. Right. Meaning he's an expert in the field, his professional opinion. Okay.
Jesus.
But later on, as he's talking, he says, my speculation on whether or not, okay, he he closes with that. And then on Recross by Eric Sanders, right? Go to that same number 3, Jack. On Recross by Eric Sanders, Eric Sanders asks, Eric Sanders asks, when you say your extraction efficiency is better, how do you know that? He goes, well, they don't publish much. This is regards to the other company, other testing company that Frankie sent in his samples to and were proven negative. Okay. Go to 145, Jack. It says, Eric Sanders says, so you're speculating, right? And Dr. Paulson says, yeah. His answer is, yeah, I'm speculating. Okay. That's not the only one though. Okay. Because later on, Dr. Kufo is given tons of room to speculate too. And on Recross, or at a cross, Eric Sanders asked him if he's been a trained toxicologist or if he's a trained forensic scientist. And he says, no, he's not. Okay. But again, this is part of a pattern of behavior I saw, okay, coming from Facio Lynch, who, when she wasn't being snarky and outright dismissing, evidence that really should be in there, okay, like again from SEC 10, okay, yeah, we're looking at number 5, Jack, okay. She when she was confronted about when Eric Sanders brought up the evidence, she remarks, as I understand it from the rules of evidence, which I'm quite well versed in. Okay, she had to let us know how she's well versed in it. Okay, right?
This is a joke.
Yeah. She goes on to state, I don't see the relevance of PsychMedic's annual report in this particular hearing. Okay, that is the SEC 10K. Okay, right now again, if you'll see my that last part where it says SEC documents, that SEC form 10K is a legal document. Okay, it's a legal document, and the company itself, makes statements about the efficacy of their product in there. So again, I'm at a loss to understand why that's not in there.
Why is this not being allowed to be entered into evidence? Why is this? Why are they? This is what I try to tell people with this. This is documented evidence that has to be brought into the trial room. And this judge, whoever she thinks she's allowing speculation, which that will never happen in a real in the real court, the real world. And then that's a legal document that is not only should it be permissible, it's you have to, this has everything to do with this case. And yet it's not permissible in this courtroom. What kind of courtroom is this? And Special Hagen says there's a good chance that this administrative judge has never litigated or tried a case in court. Why would she need to be versed when she is not bound by the rules of evidence? She makes that's a good point. But I don't understand why that document wasn't being, I don't know. I don't know if they're being, I don't get it. I don't get it, Mom. I mean, you were there. You witnessed this. And I see the docket. This thing should be, this is like open and shut. Yeah, this is a legal document, but you know what? We're not going to, it's not permissible in this courtroom. That's a little bit of what I was dealing with too, by the way, just so you all know, because I had to go through that trial room, which is just, it's one-sided, This is as one-sided as it gets. I don't even know who this woman is as a judge. Is she new there? I haven't heard her name. I remember Paul Gamble, Mr. Hatchet Man for the NYPD. He was in all these major trials. I guess he's now number 2 or number 3 in command over there.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've talked. I talked earlier about rubber stamping, and Sal has talked about it. We've all talked about this, the rubber stamp policy. So now go to number 6, Jack. Right. So this is another example of her thoughts and speculation. Right. Right. So basically, Eric Sanders objects to the line of questioning here. Okay, because again, it's of the witness in this case, Dr. Kufo, is not an expert in toxicology or forensic science or forensic science. He's a practicing physician. Okay, so he objects to that, and look at her response. I don't think he's being asked to offer his expert opinion, but rather it sounds like knowledge as a physician. Okay. Now go to number 7, Jack. Now the problem here is that the NYPD, again, like I said earlier, the NYPD views if you have some sort of academic title or training, you're now an expert in basically everything. So if we go back to the scamdemic, this is how your chief could tell you about your medical condition now. Okay, right? Because you see, he has academic training, he has a title, and he has a rank. So now that means he's an expert in non-related fields. And by the way, this is a massive problem in society. Okay, and one of the problems with why I've said before, you should not have academics being unquestioned at the top of the NYPD. Okay, about law enforcement policy, which they have no practical experience doing. Because they have academic titles, the department views their opinion a lot more than it does you, the cop. So, for instance, in my experience in Intel, if I came at a chief with, hey, chief, I have this breakdown, this is what I'm seeing, they will take the opinion of the analyst more than they take yours, because the analyst came from Harvard and they have multiple degrees. But the analyst has no practical experience about policing.
Well, he doesn't have any expertise on this.
Yes. All he does is he's a trained physician. So that apparently he can talk about other fields related to science now. He's an expert in those fields, right? So number 7, you'll see where he talks about his training as a medical review officer and about his certification as a medical review officer, which was in the 80s, by the way, right? and Eric Sanders notes, he asked him those questions. He goes, are you a trained forensic scientist? He says, no, I'm not. This is the next scroll over, Jack. He goes, are you a trained forensic scientist? He says, no, I'm not. Are you a trained in RIAH technology, which is the testing mechanism used to test the hair shaft, right? He goes, no. And he asked him again whether he's a trained toxicologist. His answer is no. Okay. But yet he's the medical review officer of the NYPD, and the medical review officer has a responsibility to gatekeep. Again, he gatekeeps the NYPD. Okay. And his role is supposed to be to review certain tests and to review the efficacy of those tests. Okay. So if there's changes in the community, because again, standards change over time, after testing, long periods of testing and evaluating results, standards change. Okay. So the medical review officer has a responsibility to review those changes, right, over time, and to make changes appropriately to policy, or to recommend changes so that the motion is the ball could get rolling. And has he done that in this case? No.
He doesn't know anything. This is like having a brain surgeon try to tell an orthopedist what to do. I operate on people's brains, but I know you have a broken bone. Let me jump in there and like, but that's what this guy's doing essentially. They actually recommended termination when this is a Mickey Mouse operation and running inside the trial room. They're withholding evidence. You know, and the judge thinks she knows everything when I don't even know if she was ever a judge. Well, this is the first time she's ever been in a trial. This guy's a doctor, but he has no idea about any of this stuff. And his transcripts are brutal. Yet they let this continue because this would never continue. This would never happen in a real courtroom. I'm sorry. I know we're waiting for that. I know what's going to happen next. You know, I mean, Anthony DiMaggio says he wouldn't be in that position if he wasn't willing to make whatever determination the brass tells him to make. That's exactly the point. He's told to do this because there's no way anyone who has sworn an oath to even be in his profession would do that because he has no idea what he's talking about. And he's the chief medical reviewer in this, and he's the second in command, I believe, in the medical division itself. Am I right, Marlon?
Yes, he is. He's number 2 in the medical division of the NYPD. And by the way, his status as medical review officer, besides being number 2, is why I believe during the scamdemic, when I questioned the FDA's documents, right? See, the department put out a statement that the scamdemic jabs, you know, I'm using. You guys could figure what I'm saying because we have our YouTube overlords to watch out for, right? So when the department put out a statement about it, I questioned them. I wrote in a letter to them, an email, which we'll show you just before I step off here. I wrote to them and it was forwarded to Kufo, and he called me and he was angry about it. And he said I was wrong, even though I was showing him documents from the FDA, right? So we've seen him ignore his responsibility as being that gatekeeper of the NYPD, and this is a problem here because here we see that the department is basically rubber stamping it and continuing it. And go back to number 7, Jack. When Eric Sanders is asking him questions about how if he's basically trained to be a toxicologist and all this, and Fascio Lynch objects to it. Okay, she doesn't like that Sanders was asking him about all of that. So I said in that thread, okay, does Kufo have any oversight? Okay, because clearly, and he says it himself in that testimony, that basically there's nobody overseeing his role as medical review officer. So there's no checks and balances in place for the guys at the top of medical review. Okay. And this is a problem because, again, we saw it when I sent them the stuff during the scamdemic, and he failed to review them and review NYPD policy in regards to it. So it goes back to what we say, if you have a rank or title, in the NYPD, you're up there. Okay. It's no longer bad policy. Okay. Because you've got that rank. You've got because it comes from an authoritative source. Okay. It's not bad policy.
But this is just atrocious. And Special Hagen wrote this, and I think this is the avenue where Eric Sanders and Frankie will end up going. If the doctor is acting outside the areas he's certified, a complaint can be filed with the medical board and he can lose his license. And clearly here, that's what's going on. This guy is not, he's speculating. He's been there 40 years, but he doesn't know anything. He only knows what they tell him to say and do. And the testimony is brutal, and they accepted it like it's God's word, and that's it. It's over. He's got to get terminated. And I only hope. Now, Jessica Tisch, I know for a fact, especially after yesterday, I know she watches this show. She watches what I write. She sees all these things. So if you still really are the police commissioner and that's what your title is, you're not the soccer mom, then you need to step in here, and you can't terminate Frankie. If you did terminate him, you're gonna be paying a lot of money. You may not be the police commissioner anymore, but they should be holding you and everyone who made this decision accountable in doing this decision, because you're going against court cases. You're going to there's prior precedent already established here through Boston PD and psych medics and all, and you're still going to say, no, we know better. We're the NYPD. That's essentially what's going on here. They're end-arounding everyone else and saying, no, we tell you what to do. That never works, because that's going to end up costing millions, Marlon. This is crazy that this is going to be allowed to stand. I know right now she's got the decision, so I just hope she doesn't do the same thing she did with those other officers with the CCRB board telling them that they have to, oh, we got to terminate them. Oh, that's right. We got to look into that.
Yeah. Now, if we're gonna go, let's go back to 7, Jack, because Eric Sanders makes a good point here. Okay, he says in his closing, right? Scroll down, Jack. He goes, we think is not a scientific standard, and that includes this tribunal. He goes, including recent ones I've seen come out of his court. We think doesn't mean anything. It's what's provable in the scientific community, and in this case, the entire process that psychomedics is doing, it hasn't been okay. But that point that he makes, we think is very important, because it's what the department views as again, once you have that rank, we think becomes now a scientific standard, because you have an authoritative rank. You have that certification regarding something, so now you could say we think about something else. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, again, as I noted before, it's come up many times before. Okay, so I thought that statement by Eric Sanders was very important to highlight. But so we're going to, when Jack is ready, we're going to go down to number 8. So
I just can't believe this. It's just like this is part of the problem, and why we have so much issues in the New York City Police Department.
Yeah.
Tony Moore says if he's talking, Tony Moore said this about Jessica Tisch, and this is important to note here. If she leaves, who's to say she's going to touch any of these cases if it may be left for the new police commissioner? That's a whole nother problem. That would be a whole nother problem. But he's right. Tony's right. That might happen as well. It'll continue.
Well, who's to say this is, the problem is, Sal, that these guys like to kick the can down the road.
Yep.
And we're looking at those cops who are now being railroaded, right?
So many.
Yeah. Their decision is going to come when Tish is not there. Okay. She views it as if she makes a decision on them now, or she went against the CCRB's ruling, that might be a problem for her in her progressive circle. So the idea is to kick the can down the road to when she's not there, and it's no longer her problem. And the problem with the next guy who's coming into her seat is that he has problems that have been kicked down the road years prior. The same thing for the mayor. And I've said it yesterday. Whoever becomes mayor is dealing with a fiscal situation that's because of years of malfeasance that are building on top.
Yep.
And he has, every time somebody kicks the can down the road, the guy further down the road has a little, very less leeway for him to kick the can down the road. And such is, I believe, the case when it comes to the mayor and the fiscal situation. But that's what these guys like to do. So the next PC might try and find ways to kick all these problems down the road himself, rather than solve it then. And again, it becomes a bigger problem as we go on.
This is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So what else do we have on this? Because I know there was another. Yeah.
So I'm not sure which one that is, but we're gonna go to number 9 now. Now we're talking about Sergeant Say. Now Sergeant Say was involved in the testing process for Frankie. Okay. And now he's assigned to the drug screening unit, right? And one of the problems in Frankie's case is about the algorithm, right? The entire process again is kind of arbitrary, right? And I thought it was hilarious that in their decision, the city brings up that Sergeant Say testified about the department's algorithm, when in fact, if you look at the testimony here, and you're going to go to the next one, Jack, he says when Eric Sanders questions him, the next picture in that line, when he's questioned by Eric Sanders, okay, Sergeant Say says he knows nothing about the actual algorithm, okay, right? He knows nothing about the algorithm. So in the department's final decision, they brought up that he testified about the algorithm. He knows nothing about the algorithm. And so we don't know if the algorithm, we don't know if there even is an algorithm, you know? And Eric and John have brought up many times how the randomness is in doubt because some people get tested like multiple times, in a short span.
But wait. He's saying the algorithm they use. So how many other times have they mentioned the algorithm to terminate people? And now the guy can't cite where this is or what's going on. But they've used this excuse. They're using it here. Oh, the algorithm. But he doesn't even know what the hell it is. How does this stand? What I don't understand is how the department is letting this happen, because this is a complete, what do you want to say? It's full of shit. In all honesty, I hate to say that word, but that's what this is. I mean, Eric Sanders says here, remember, Dr. Paulson admitted there is no agreed upon scientific standing for EIA hair testing, therefore not valid under FRI or the UGESP. That's the Uniform Guidelines on Employment Selection Procedure. As a fact. It's fabricated evidence. That's what Eric Sanders is saying. It's I don't understand the algorithm. But I can't explain it. But I'm stating this to terminate you. How does that stand? That's what I'm trying to be. So, folks, I hope you're paying attention. You understand what he just said. That's very important to note here, because the guy is saying, here is something that I'm going to state to terminate you, but I don't even know what it is. And then your employers that you're all employed under says, yeah, he's right. That's it. We're going to terminate because he can't even point to it. You understand? I know it's a little bit of thinking, but if you really think about it, because this could be you. It could be you. It could be your friend. It could be your family that's going through this right now and has the same issue. That is absolutely outrageous that he says, here's an algorithm. Oh, I don't know it, but I don't know anything about it. But yeah, that's how we're going to terminate you, the algorithm.
Yeah. So Eric Sanders asked him, he asked Sergeant Say, do you have firsthand knowledge of how random numbers are generated? He says, no. Okay. So, the sergeant doesn't know about the algorithm, but even worse, tell you what's even worse, right? Psych medics, go to the next one. Jack, psych medics, the next one in number 9. Psych medics itself, in their documents, they said that the hair sample is supposed to be taken from the base of your scalp, right? Now, the problem with that is that the department wants 3.9 centimeters hair length, which is sometimes only available on the arms and legs. But the problem is that brings up that it's inconsistent, But the department would rather the inconsistent, the flawed method, just in order to get it done. Okay. And does that sound familiar? Right. If that sounds familiar, it should, because think of it. For those of you who are in our age range, right? Those of you in our age range, when you came on the job, the department wanted 250s and wanted summons, right?
Yep.
As a rookie, your sergeant didn't care, right? Just get it done. Okay. They don't care. So if you went and you summons grandma for riding the bike on the sidewalk, they don't care. It's a summons, If got you the number. See, this is in line with the quantity rather than actual quality. Okay, and just get it done. Okay, we don't care if the process is flawed or not. Okay, just get it done. Okay, and so Sergeant Say now says in his testimony that he gave Frankie a choice whether to take it from his arms or his legs because the back of the hair on his head wasn't long enough. But again, the problem is you're supposed to take it from the base of the scalp, and this goes along with, because again, it's inconsistent when you take it from the arms and legs. Okay,
Yeah,
there are problems with it. And by the way, the director from Psychmedics actually says that in the testimony. Okay, he actually says that in his testimony when Vanessa Facio Lynch, when she played prosecutor and started asking him questions, and I said that how that came back to bite them in the ass. Okay, yeah. So what you're looking at there is Sergeant Say. This is the department's decision, right? And they even note, they at the bottom it says that they gave, yeah, right there. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go back up, Jack. It says right there they gave him a choice. Okay, as though Frankie was supposed to know that it's supposed to be taken from the base of your scalp. Okay, you see, this is the department putting it on you now. It's their screw up. It's their fault that the sergeant didn't know that he's supposed to take it from the base of the scalp. Okay, but no, it's because they've been called to the carpet. Now we're gonna put it on you, like you're supposed to ask, right?
That's ridiculous. Eric Sanders said it means as judge, she is unethical, misrepresenting evidence. Disgusting. That is disgusting. You have to understand, and people, this could be you in that trial room, and this is what you're dealing with. I had to deal with the same thing because remember, I had Jeremy Orenstein, who somehow is still employed in the New York State Police Department because they like corrupt people. When he said that he did the subpoenas in my case, an administrative subpoena, which you can't use to get my phone records and all this other stuff. They wrote that I was involved in narcotics, which I'm never drugs. I'm not around a drug dealer. I mean, although I can't say that about the police commissioner and those people. But they said that I was involved in narcotics. And then when I was my attorney, the PBA attorney, was asking him, "Did you ever adult test Mr. Greco?" No. Did you ever suspect him of using narcotics? No. Then why the hell would you put this? Oh, well, someone he knew, they were involved in drugs 20 years ago. That's the reason. And then I got cut off by Mr. Paul Gamble, who said, well, I'll put this into the record, but that line of questioning has nothing to do with what happened here. So a fake subpoena was used to violate your rights, but that has nothing to do with the issue of the day. So this is what you deal with when you're in that trial room. Obviously, my point, the case is over because you can't do what he did. He literally violated. That's criminal what he was doing. This will all be brought up, Mr. Ornstein. I don't know if you're watching, but this is all going to be brought out. And this is what they're facing. And what I'm seeing here is it's the same stuff. The same shenanigans. Nothing matters. Don't worry. And the judge is acting like a prosecutor. 1 minute the judge, 1 minute the prosecutor. This is the NYPD kangaroo court.
Yeah. So if you go back to the last picture now, again, Sal, in your case, they didn't care that how the subpoena was obtained.
No,
they didn't care about it was bogus. Okay, they just cared that it got done. Okay,
correct.
Right. So go back to that last picture again, Jack. Number 10 and the second picture in number 10. Right. It says at the bottom, right? Respondent did not raise any objections or concerns regarding the testing procedures employed. So wait, was it Frankie's role to tell you that where you're supposed to take the hair from? Yeah. Was it Frankie's role to do that? Or is it the department's role to understand the entire testing process?
The sergeant should have known better. He works there. How the hell is he going to know what your procedures are? You go in, we know this. The adult test is whatever. Where do you want to take it? Whatever. I remember doing this once or twice. It's either your arm, your leg. It could be your hair, but it's supposed to be your hair. So the fact that they don't do your hair is already a problem. But again, none of this matters. It's a fugazi, unscientific test that's been proven false. It's not accurate. All of this is a scam. But the police department just sit there and go, well, they have to defend their position now, because how many people have they fired for the very reason they're trying to fire Frankie right now? How many people did they railroad? Like in my situation with using fugazi subpoenas, administrative subpoena, which they got caught for. They did it to a reporter in New York Post. They had to the NYPD's been through it, but they always double down, because if they don't, they got all these other people that they railroad, and they don't want any of that to come out, because they'll never admit we were wrong. We've had a bad employee. You know, we're gonna make him responsible for things. They don't do that, which is the problem here. And Special Agent says the bias at these admin hearings is not uncommon. So many people are railroaded into charges and termination. This is awful. It's worse. You're taking away this guy's livelihood for nothing. You know, I don't get it. And people not sticking up for Frankie or whatever in this chat, or you think it's a joke, or you're falling asleep, or this is what matters, is issues like this. I mean, I can make jokes about things and make things entertaining. This is pertinent evidence and facts to what goes on, not only in the New York City Police Department, but it goes on in all these kind of hearings all over the United States. It could be many other police departments as well. And Frankie's an innocent guy that got picked on. Clearly somebody didn't like him. And there's other evidence as well that, you know, that's going to be entered in the future in a real trial. You're going to see how they actually pick people for this. So it's not random, just so you know. Random dole test. And there's evidence that proves it as well. So I don't know if Jessica Tisch is listening. You're in for a world of hurt. And I believe that if you do this, and there should be a law put in, you terminate this guy, even though all the legalities of this, right, points to you are going against prior precedent in courts, prior cases that were already settled. You are going against that because you want to prove the New York City Police, I don't know what it is. Then Jessica Tisch should pay out of her own pocket. She's got billions of dollars. She could do it. Maybe they could give her half the Giants, since they're a poorly run franchise. You could give Frankie that, and all the other people you terminate under the same purpose, because that should be happening. You should be held responsible. Stephen S. says, is there Grey Poupon on the Tisch? So, I mean, that's what's going to happen. You're going to have to pay, because you do this over and over again. There's a prior court precedent with cases. Why are you going against the grain? Why are you saying we're the almighty NYPD? You don't know better than the court that was already settled, the court case that was settled. So then if she wants to go through with this, Marlon, I believe Jessica Tisch should pay out of her own pocket. So should Danny, whatever his name is, that sergeant, just like Orenstein. They should pay, because all you did was rubber stamp something and going against the prior precedent that's already set in United States federal court. You want to go against that, you should suffer the wrath of everything. The courts, financial discomfort, which Tisch won't have any problem paying anyway. That's what this boils down to. And by the way, where is Scott Monroe, Mr. I run the detectives union? Because he's nowhere to be found for Frankie, right? I don't see him. He wasn't there for you. He's not there for you either, Marlon. And where are these people? MIA. Too busy. Who are they going to endorse next? Because Eric's out. Who are you going to endorse this? Cuomo?
Yeah.
Sure.
It's about protecting their self-interest. You know, again, it's just like Tisch. Okay, Fascio Lynch is protecting the system and protecting her opportunities, because God forbid you object to any of this. Is, you know, you may not get that nice 6-figure job in academia after, because somebody may make that call for you, you know, somebody who feels slighted at the top, you know. And so this, again, is how things get kicked down the road, and how failed systems in the NYPD remain the same. Because, again, we don't care how you get the job done, just get it done. But if things go sideways, we're going to throw you out there, okay? And if you object in the process because you tell them, hey, boss, this method is flawed, you want it done, but the only way for me to get it done is with this flawed method that's going to get us in trouble later on, you're thrown to the wolves. Okay. So now we're on to number 11. Let's talk about the department's witness here. So what you're looking at again is the final decision, right? So the department's expert, okay, is a director at Psychmedics. Now, do you think he has a vested financial interest in the outcome of this?
Yes.
I kind of think he does. You know,
Yes.
I think he kind of does. So go to the next picture.
That's conflict number 1, by the way.
Yeah.
Does he have a financial interest? Yes. Conflict number 1. Okay. Witness has to. This is what I'm saying. This is a kangaroo court, folks. In the real world, this guy can't be a witness. He's got a conflict. But whatever the NYPD says, Jessica Tisch.
Yep. And here you're seeing the department's reasoning again that okay, the Psychmedics is sampling of the hair. Okay, they're trying to justify it here. Okay. Now the problem is in his testimony, right? The doctor himself, okay, says that he points out that the inconsistencies of taking body and hair sampling, and that it's an average, and that that their own policies state that you got to take it from the base of the hair. So here it is on the closing, in their final decision, the department. I don't understand why you're bringing this up, like it's you know, they bring it up like something that's been not been kind of discredited in the court, you know.
I mean,
protect the system.
This is Hardcore X says, Hard X Core says, has anyone been questioned in the trial room how the department can implement a test that was deemed inadmissible in other departments? That's the crux of this case. Yet you could tell by everything Marlon's showing you, what we're pointing at, they keep sidestepping this and doubling down on what you're saying. It is wrong, but yet this is God's word coming from this doctor, even though he's conflicted. You know, it's ridiculous. Eric Sanders just said it's called circular reasoning. So it is.
Yes, it is. And, you know, they do that a lot, you know, they do that a lot. But let's go back to number 4, and we're going to go to page 147. Now, this is during testimony when Facio, and by the way, I told you how Facio Lynch was asking questions as though she's the prosecutor now. One of those questions I think they came back to bite him in the ass. And it's regarding, again, taking hair from the body and not the hair, and not the base of the scalp. But we're going to go to number 4. And yes, perfect, Jack. Right? So this is a statement from Psychmedics' own doctor, where he basically tells you, okay, yeah, he's basically telling you that how inconsistent the hair from the arm and leg are. Okay, and here we have the department kind of mentioning it, but not mentioning any of this in their final decision. Okay, not mentioning that it's Psychmedics' own director telling you this. So again, you got to protect the system at all costs.
This case is. I just hope that, like I said, that they have Jessica Tisch or somebody that you want to go through with this. You're going to be held personally liable, because none of this, all of this stuff that is, I mean, the entire case could be made of how this shouldn't even have gone this far, and that you challenge things correctly. By the way, you were challenging things correctly, and that I don't know how this is allowed to continue. And they actually they doubled down and said he should be terminated on top of everything we just showed. Hard X Course says the unions sit there and allow this kangaroo court to go on. They should be suing the city to stop these BS trials. But they don't. I don't know what to say. Jessica Tisch should stop this immediately. This is not going to work. And there's going to be personal liability, I think, if you're going to go because they're ignoring the glaring fact that's in their face that this has already been decided in the courts. It doesn't matter if it's Boston PD or NYPD. Boston PD, not only are they cops, they're human beings. So you're a human being in the NYPD, right? So if that was decided over there, what makes you special? When the federal court already determined that this is not an applicable test and it must be abolished. And they had to pay out settlements for the damages they did, like they're doing to Frankie right now. I'm Jessica Tisch, Harvard graduate. I mean, I thought you'd be smarter than this. And if there's something hanging over her head, and I'm going to get to in a little bit with you with things going on behind the scenes, then just come out and say it. Eric's a dead duck anyway. Eric Adams finished. Lame duck, dead duck, what do you want to call him? His political career, he's finished. He might be an ambassador, though, but it's over. So what are you hiding? What are you hiding that's just left? I mean, Frankie Palaguacci's in the chat right now. I'm no lawyer, but I think this is medical malpractice. I think it is. That's why those doctors need to have complaints filed on them with the board. This entire trial is a sham, and it's right in front of your eyes. You've recited all this evidence. We have an article up. Like I say, go to financeunfiltered.com. You can check it out in the news. In the news section, you'll see the article. This is a travesty, yet it's one of many. And there's going to be repercussions, though, if they go down this road. It's not the old system, as you and I know, Marlon, where we're going to do this and that's it. And this is going to be how it stands, and there's nothing you could do about it. Because in the police department, that's how they act a lot, I mean, Special Agent says, I'm wondering how much money the department is spending on the test and who in the administration has stock ownership in the company. They're a failing company, by the way, Special Hagen. They got, they have you see how low their stock is? It's vanished over the years because the test is not accurate. It's not scientifically method of it. It's not proven. It's a fugazi. By the way, check out Special Hagen's website. She wrote a nice article about the Eric Adams mayoralship and the comparisons from him to David Dinkins. Very good article. I think it's a good read. I think everyone should go to her website, by the way. So check her out. I don't even want to add anything else on this, Marlon. I'm like flummoxed that this is occurring in the police department still.
Yeah, we're just going to wrap it up now. So, Jack, number 12, I just want to point out how I'm no lawyer, but that kind of looks like speculation. Yeah.
No, just
right. That looks like speculation, right? And now we're going to go back to 147, page 12. 12. Rather, page 4, 147, where again, this is when Facio Lynch was asking she was playing prosecutor, right? And the witness says, again, the witness points out the problems with the hair and the hair and the go to 147, the hair, taking the hair from the arm and the leg. So let's see, we're at 12. So I think that basically wraps it up. But I want to go back. If you go to my tweets, Jack, I put out 2 tweets. One was the letter I sent to the department. I just want you guys who are watching this right now and who are on the job to go there, and regardless of what you think about those times, whether you agree with the decision to take it or not, it's bigger than that, right? So what you're looking at is a letter I sent to all of the department's commanding officers in January 24, right? And I was imploring them to ask questions of medical division, okay? And in this letter, it was 4 pages, and I included results of the scamdemic from the feds have a database of injuries regarding it. And I implored the department to ask questions of the COs, to ask questions of medical division, because it's their cops who are getting sick. And you guys are well aware of many cops getting sick right now. Mm-hmm. So, and if you scroll up to my Twitter again, there's scroll down. That is the letter I sent to Kufo back in 21, right? Now, regardless of what you think about those times, the point I'm trying to make here is he has a role as medical review officer, okay? And he has responsibilities, and he has to upend those responsibilities, okay? And gatekeep the department. And he's not doing his job, okay? And this is getting the job in trouble now in regards to, it's going to get them in trouble with Frankie's case. It's going to get them in trouble with the psychologist. And years down the road, it's going to get them in trouble with what happened during those times. And that's why I'm telling you guys who are watching us right now, okay, and on the job, don't just take it from me. Go look at those documents yourself. Go and start asking questions of your union and the job, because it's your health, okay? It's your health, and it's your quality of job, quality of work life, okay? So that's it.
Yeah, so we're gonna stay on top of this. If I gotta have Eric Sanders come back on, there's gonna be more to come with this. We're gonna see what the final decision is with this. I really implore Jessica Tisch, you know, you got my recommendation is you stop this as fast as you can, as it's going to come back to bite you, the NYPD, and you could be sued personally. It's just going to be a problem. I would steer away from this and try to fix this. And maybe you yourself have some kind of legacy as a police commissioner, although you've been a failure for, almost the majority of your time. You can alter that with one decision like this, where you give a bunch of people a chance and you're doing the right thing. This is a disgrace. And this guy is still there, by the way. This Dr. Kufo, whatever. Kufo, he's still there. Kufo's still there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so I think we broke this down great. We showed the documents. We have the articles. We're going to have Frankie, not Frank, we're going to have Eric on in the future regarding anything with this case. So, my heart goes out to you, Frankie. Thanks for, we support you, as you know. Anything you need, we're there for you. Frankie's a huge supporter of the show. He's also, his family supports the show. Plenty of them are in here a lot, and we have your back. And this is an injustice that we are going to see you through, that you get the justice you deserve, because this is BS. And anyone else this happened to, I suggest you come forward. This has been going on for way too long. But now I wanted to pivot. There's a couple while you're here. There's a few things. There's people in the comments mentioning current things. Well, I got some current things for you. Number one, the NYPD Chief of Department, John Schell. John Schell, yesterday morning went on Sid Rosenberg's show, WABC, where they're either Cuomo or whatever. They're always bouncing back John Katz there. But so John Schell goes on the show, and he's talking about, people think that he was going to be leaving because of disability, 3/4 pension, something like that. That's what the rumor was, but it didn't happen. He was just talking nonsense. And they hear them go back and forth. I just, that's whatever. You guys want to listen to Sid in the morning, you do what you want. But pull up this post. This is the first one. There's going to be two that I have on this guy. But that first post, pull that back up. So this one right here, I'll start with this one. Latest NYPD news. NYPD Chief of Department John Schell is scheduled to go in front of the Pension Disability Board panel on October 8th. He is now allegedly trying to defer this again, and allegedly reaching out to any Eric Adams crony who sits on said board to extend his stay. What say you, NYPD Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch? So, just so you know, Marlon, there's a little more to this story, because allegedly he was already approved. Allegedly, John Schell is not even full duty. So this is just basically he's going to walk in and it's over. I know I was given some information about how that works, but he's a chief of department. What works for you as the executive retiring, the cop, you're not him. He's got all kinds of special favors going on. So he just needs to walk in and it's over. But now he's trying to delay this again, because apparently he might want to stay till the end when Eric Adams leaves. That's kind of what I heard him yesterday morning talking about with Sid Rosenberg. So This in itself is a problem I see, Marlon, because, the pension is not just 3/4. So you understand that allegedly what I've been saying is 25% extra, meaning a full pension. He has some kind of federal incident/disability claim from when he went to Washington, D.C. That is the allegation. So he would be getting 100% of his pension, which is why that rumored number of over $20,000 a month he would get is what he would get. But of course, federal approval means there is scrutiny, and that probably numerous people that are allegedly it's going to come out of woodwork challenging him. So I don't know what he did exactly. That is what's on the table, so to speak. So Marlon, what is your take on all of that?
Well, again, self-interest, that's all these guys care about, self-interest and not the health of the department, Now, I wouldn't care about any of this if John Chell was like the biggest, if he was the biggest cheerleader and the biggest, if they set out to actually fix the job and fix some of the problems in the job and work to leave with a better department than they came in, But these guys don't do it. They don't care about any of that. They don't care about you on the street. They care about their next opportunity. They care about their next party, their next opportunity to go play golf with whichever bigwig politician or Hollywood figure, And you're seeing that here. Okay, it's all about their own self-interest. So even though John Chell, which I just don't understand how you as chief of department can be. I don't understand that. You're the chief uniformed officer of the NYPD, and you could be, you could have that status, Can somebody explain that to me? In fact, I don't even understand how you could be chief of department and be a fat ass. Okay. Because again, when people look at that uniform, if I look at a Florida sheriff, I find me a fat Florida sheriff. Good luck. Okay. They all look like they fit the uniform, and they look like they're ready to jump in the trenches with you when things go sideways. Do you think he could even run a block without collapsing? No. So I don't even understand how these guys are even get to those positions, because they expect the best of you, but they themselves are like a mess, And when people look at them, they see the rest of the department. So how is that instill confidence in the public, in our ability to be the best police officers, or be the best police department we can be?
There he is, inattentive, by the way, sitting behind Jessica Tisch at a major committee hearing on top of things. The problem here is, Marlon, that the rules have been bent for him. Pension, disability. These are crimes that could have occurred here. We don't know exactly until this all comes out. I know it's been waiting in the wings. It's just I know about something that John doesn't want me to know about. And since he's such a jackass and attacks people, and he's not well liked, unlike what Sid Rosenberg said, nobody likes this guy. The people that like John Chell are in his little circle. Everyone else is waiting in the wings for when he files for a disability officially, when he walks in this place, and he's just trying to hold up the inevitable. And the rules are bent for him, by the way, because that's not how the procedure is, but they're bent. I can tell you that firsthand. All right. I don't get things and I present you a lie. It's basically, this is a fact-based analysis show for a reason. So that's one thing that happened. There's a second one too. I'm going to post the second one too.
If I may quickly before
you
go
ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to point out, we talked about medical division before. Now, do you think a guy like Chell, who's looking after his self-interest and his 3/4, is going to challenge the poor policy at medical division or the failed policy at medical division? Is he going to challenge it? Nope.
No, absolutely not. This guy's part of the problem. He's part of the problem. But there's more, because there was another thing, another nugget I found out about another post that I put out. So I want to put that up on the screen, because this is also important, and it also, hit the offices of Jessica Tisch. So latest NYPD rumors. In the fallout of Eric Adams not seeking re-election for New York City mayor, NYPD Chief of Department John Schell has allegedly been calling community leaders from a New York City borough seeking support for Kaz Daughtry to become next police commissioner. He allegedly also called community leaders from another borough seeking support for Tariq Shepard to become the next police commissioner. So just so you guys realize this, and this has gotten back to the police commissioner, number one, that is for right now. That's not for the next mayor. Right now, he's advocating on multiple fronts, community leaders in multiple boroughs for two separate people, and advocating for the termination of Jessica Tisch, which I heard Sid Rosenberg yesterday say that she loves not only Sid, but she loves John Schell. John Schell's saying he might come on and say when he's going to retire with her. Why doesn't he tell Sid the truth? That's the truth right there, because the phone in One Police Plaza on the 14th floor was buzzing with people calling Jessica Tisch about this. So, again, this guy is a special kind of snake, you know. So, what are your thoughts on that one, Marlon?
Yeah, that doesn't actually surprise me at all, to be honest. Because, in fact, I'm surprised he was never made PC. I think I remember saying that I bet he's going to be the next one when I think it was when I forgot which PC it was, but I remember saying that I think he's going to be next. And the reason why is because Tariq is connected to the big business. You know, Tariq was in some sort of a consumer task force, some retail theft task force. That worked with a lot of these corporations in Manhattan, and I think he's he's actually a Branton crony, you know. So it doesn't surprise me that he's being pushed now, because I'm pretty sure that big business is also doing some of that pushing. And you know, again, these guys, it's all self-interest, and that includes big business too. They don't care that Tariq. You look at Tariq's 26 collars, and he doesn't exactly scream, you know, the most competent leader. Okay. And I'm sorry, some of you guys out there may think, oh, he was great, Inspector. I'm sorry, though, if you don't have enough, if you haven't done time in the trenches, how could we assume that you're the best, you're going to be the best PC? Because when you lack the knowledge of being boots on the ground, you know?
Yeah. It's funny because Eric Sanders said to you, Kaz would try to sell a lemonade via drone delivery. That would definitely be something that Kaz Daughtry would do. But so word to the wise there, once again, Jessica Tisch, the knives are out. They're all trying to knife you there, that little circle, because this is the end. So I expect a lot of activity in the next couple of weeks in regards to all of this stuff, because the band is falling apart. It's going to be no more together. So then there's the latest news that came out. I see a lot of people in the chat coming up, but hold on. There's before we play that, Jack, there was something that happened with an individual, I believe it's a lieutenant or whatever, Asian Jade Society. So Lieutenant Douchebag's thing. So this Lieutenant Douchebag, great follow, by the way. So this just happened. He just put this up today. This week, the president of the Asian Society, Detective Melvin Eng, Financial Crimes Task Force, was suspended after attending the Ryder Cup, a major golf event, while off-duty and in full tactical gear as he was attending the event. Allegations suggest that New York State troopers intended to apprehend him and arrest him. The detective involved stated that he was present for the Trump detail, which subsequently attracted the attention of the Secret Service. It appears he attended the event for 2 days before being questioned. This situation raises important questions regarding the decision-making process. Why was he not arrested, and who was responsible for that decision? Just like Eric Dim says, there's 3 tiers in the department. I guess he's in the second tier. That is unbelievable, Marlon. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, every time you think you've heard it, you know, you can't, it can't get any worse, you know. Now we talked about a lot of things that happened over the weekend, you know, or last week, or like the latter end of last week on yesterday's finest.
Yeah.
And I gotta admit, I thought that was something, but this one, that's absurd. Like who? Now, when you hear this, there's no way this guy did that on his own without some sort of a connection somewhere or somebody talking in his ear. This is just like beyond absurd to me that, you know, that he think that, you know, you could do that and not think that there's going to be problems with it. I mean,
They're saying he was suspended without pay now in the chat. Moon Moon said Eng has been suspended without pay. Eric Sanders says he's a meat eater. Hard X Core says rumor is that guy Eng also does shakedowns of Asian businesses. If that's an allegation, that's crazy. That is crazy. I thought it was a supervisor. Who the hell does that? This sounds like the guy in the Penn Station bathroom. Like what the hell is going on with these people in the police department? Go to work and go home, man. What the hell? Came down in the finest, so he's officially suspended.
Did they say how much time he has on?
I'd have to. I don't know. Says he is a second grade detective.
Wow. Yeah, he's definitely connected somewhere. But I mean, like I just don't understand that at all. I mean, maybe his psych needs to be reviewed again. You know, maybe he had one of those untrained psychologists too.
950 tax number. That's not good. That's
yeah. He definitely is on the newer end of it. Probably maybe 10, 12 years, maybe a little bit more.
So people, Sleepy Joe says people on the job really are doing whatever they want. There he is.
Yeah.
That's his detective second grade, 950-380.
Yeah. See, financial crimes task force. So that means he had a great gig. You know, he's probably connected somewhere up there too. But I got
Joel Ramirez says he was out sick. He's out sick doing that stuff. So he's
yeah, maybe he might have some other issues going on. Certainly, that doesn't seem like he's right in the head doing that. You know?
No, wow.
Yeah.
Eric Sanders says, wow, he's a little over the weight specifications. Jesus Christ. This is like unbelievable. Yeah. But there's two things before I let you leave. First off, before, we talk about Secret Service. I put up a video on X. This video has 18 million and counting, 19 million views. If you see this girl, right? My whole point with this is, first of all, her hair is not in a ponytail. It's a ponytail, not a bun. She looks completely disheveled. Hands are down. Left hand in her pocket. That's a pocket, right? A lot of people in there saying, oh, a pocket. Gun, her hands aren't on the gun, right? She's got earrings, jewelry, makeup on. She's got, look at it in front of her. Her chest has like 1,000 radios in front of her. Is this what you expect out of Secret Service? Right next to her, her partner is squared away. The police officer behind her, which is a female, at NYPD, squared away. Is this what you expect? Because remember, this is during UNGA, which people don't know is United Nations General Assembly. This isn't just some random foot post in Tottenville, Staten Island, where nothing really occurs. Okay. And by the way, there's a protester standing directly behind her, and they're barricaded in, meaning if she wants to yank her down by her hair, no one's coming to her aid other than her partner. If so, because the police officers are trapped behind the other barrier. That is an absolute failure, in my opinion. Now, I hear people say this is DEI. I hear people say, I have a problem because she's a female. I hear people say I have a problem because apparently, I don't know, they think that she's black, she's Hispanic, who knows? I don't know what she is. It's a female. My entire issue with that is that is someone who is not fit for that moment. This is the United Nations General Assembly. You have to have your head on a swivel. You have to be ready at all times. You know why? It's the highest alert in the city for anything that could happen. Terrorist threats. They had something that they foiled, if you remember. They were trying to use electronics. It was Secret Service and NYPD that stopped it. So now you think that is what you want standing around looking like, and by the way, it is meandering when you're looking around, as I wrote that. Many people, a lot agreed, a lot had a lot of things to say. There's a ton of low information people with the stupid comments, acting like they're 5 years old. Don't want to address the problem. But just so you know, I don't care about her looks. I don't care that it's a female. I wore a very uniformed people standing behind them. That would be completely unacceptable. And after there were 2 assassination attempts on the life of the president, what you just saw a couple of weeks ago with Charlie Kirk, although it doesn't involve Secret Service, there are mentally deranged people out there that are willing to take a shot. Nothing like better than the UN. And that is unacceptable. Maybe that works on a footpost in Tottenville, Staten Island, but it won't work in Manhattan. That was the point. I had no idea it was going to get 19 million views or whatever it's got and counting. You know, I could attest to this too, Marlon. I had long hair. See how my hair is in a bun? That's exactly how it was when I was standing there. I was standing out there looking squared away, never not paying attention. My shoes were shined. It's the UN. That's all I'm saying is you have to be professional. That was unprofessional. And I don't care what people think of her looks and this and that. It's, did she follow the guidelines? Is this what you want representing you in Secret Service during the UN? I believe the answer is no. And whether she needs to be reprimanded, punished, whatever the case is, the example was, don't let that happen again. What are your thoughts on that, Marlon?
Well, I actually, I don't agree fully with you on this one, Sal. But I do acknowledge you make a great point, especially about the Secret Service, and something that we all have to think about, and even I have to think about after, is that Secret Service, you gotta think about all the assassination attempts that have been made on Trump's life, and what in the shadow of what happened to Charlie Kirk. You got to be, if you're at a detail like that, you got to be on point, because we know the nut jobs, are coming out the woodwork right now. And, there's been multiple mass shootings lately. There was just 2 over the weekend, one in Michigan, one in North Carolina. So if you're in a detail like this, you got to be on point, because you don't know what the next crazy is around the corner. And not just that, but there are Palestinian protesters in that area too. But with that said, well, the other thing I'm going to say before I get there is that if you're not prepared for a certain role in policing or a certain unit, maybe you shouldn't put in for that. If you're not prepared to stand there for hours and keep your gun on the firearm, maybe you shouldn't put in for that unit. Maybe that unit's not for you, and maybe you should get another unit. Now I don't know how the minutia of Secret Service detailing works. But it's something to think about. Now, with that said, I gave her a little benefit of the doubt, because we don't know how long they've been on post. And I can tell you, being on once you're on a 15, 17-hour post, you're not going to be squared away. I don't know if they've been given breaks or if she's been relieved at any point. So, and we don't know how long she had her hand off of the gun. We do know, though, I also do agree with you, though. I hate those vests, Now, the thing is about Secret Service, they're not exactly street cops, so by and large, they're not going to be tussling with any purpose on the street. But I have a pet peeve with those stupid vests, because I see more and more NYPD having everything on the vest, and the vest kind of limit your mobility, especially if you have to go hands-on or if you have to be very agile or nimble in your movements. I think those vests are pretty stupid,
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
now. So yeah, I don't agree fully with what Sal said, but Sal makes excellent points that we all should keep in mind, considering the climate that we're in right now.
Yeah, and I saw some comments in there, like something about the hood says a man bonus. Listen, there are plenty of people. Look, Roman Reigns comes to mind, famous wrestler. Guys say, look at him. He puts his hair in a bun. Not of officers out there that have dreadlocks. They put their hair in a bun. You have to have your hair in a bun for the one reason. Not only does it look neater, your hair in a ponytail, that protester sitting there with the Trump sign can easily just drop it and yank you down. And now they have your gun, her side gun there. You have to be prepared for this at all times. I understand what you're saying, Marlon, but this is the UN. It's the highest security risk. There are no exceptions. There's no 2-minute break. Just no. You know why? That 2-minute break, here comes the sniper. You can't do it. The president's in town. Sorry. Either you're alert or, McDonald's needs people. That's how it's viewed. This is something that's very important after multiple assassination attempts on the president. And there's others, dignitaries, there's politicians there, there's world leaders there. And here you are looking like a deer in headlights, like it's a fashion show or something. I don't know what she was doing. Her hands are on the side, her hands in her pocket. Like, you have to be aware. Where it really is just, that's it. Just be aware of your surroundings and stick to what you're trained to do. I'm sure in Secret Service, they don't train you to put your hands down at your sides, leave your gun. And then people saying, oh, well, you have to have your hand in your gun. You're damn right. That's the UN. When you go to D.C. or when you see Secret Service downstairs or whatever, and like in the subway, anywhere where you would see the president's family or dignitary, anyone they protect, and they're standing there, tell me that they don't have their hand on their weapon. I've never not seen it until now. They always do. They walk with it. Joe Cop thinks they know more. Joe Veteran thinks they know more. But I actually did that detail, and I never saw anyone, the Secret Service even walk, and they have a hand on it. Because you have to be ready in a split second. That's all it takes, like that. A bullet is like the speed of sound, right? So what do you think? Just being lackadaisical is going to work when you're at the highest terror alert during the United Nations? That's my point. And it's not attacking someone personally. I don't know this person. I don't care about their looks. I don't care about them individually. It's the scrutiny comes from being law enforcement and how that's supposed to go. And the fact that we have assassination attempts on the president's life, and this is unacceptable. It just is. I'm sorry. It's just that 2 seconds that you say, Marlon, it would make a point, but it's the United Nations when it's the highest terror alert. So no, you can't just have, you want to relax, then someone has to come in and take your position. The NYPD does it. There's a roving post guy. That guy covers all the other posts when they go away to go eat. So the minute they step away, another officer's there. So if she's tired, another Secret Service agent comes and replaces her before she walks away. That's how that works. That didn't happen there. There's other pictures of her too, still with her hands down. So it's just, that is unacceptable. That's all I'm saying. And do better, especially after what's been going on with the president and his family and the threats on his life. But I did want to end it on one thing. I heard people in the comments here. This is the latest post from our esteemed Deputy Mayor of Public Safety in the New York City, Eric Adams administration. Let's just see what Kaz has to say here. We can't hear this. Where's the volume? Play the volume, Jack. So let's cue that up again. This will be, let's play the latest from Deputy Mayor of Public Safety Kaz Daughtry, who is on his way out the door. This is the latest video he has. We love seeing how much he loves the city, yet we don't know how much he's using taxpayer money to fund this little social media clout chasing production he keeps putting on. So let's put that back up on the screen, Jack.
Yeah, might be having technical issues with StreamYard. StreamYard does that every now and then, guys. So this YouTuber live having live this is one of the pitfalls of having live, but you know it's also we're also authenticate. So it's unlike
That's the
Fox News,
truth.
so we don't not gonna cut away for some commercial or something, you know. So
No, I like that. Oh, look, you have Juju's back. Juju is back. He says, I'm criticizing Secret Service. Guy, whatever. Did you walk off the pier yet? I mean, you don't have a job coming up.
yeah,
No job for
he's
you.
waiting to sign out. Yeah, it's 3 o'clock.
It's 3 o'clock. What are you still doing here?
Yeah,
It
but
seems that I can't play this auto. I guess he can't play the audio.
yeah.
So I guess I don't know. I can't. Sorry, we can't play the audio. It looks like maybe Kaz sent a few of his drones and his techno gremlins in there. We'll try to get that up at another time, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess that'll wrap it up. Marl, I don't know if you have anything else you want to chime in on with.
No. Thank you for having me on. Thanks for joining us, guys. I know it's a lot to take in, and I shout out to Jack for there's a lot of moving pictures, to switch around. So there's a lot to this also, and I hope you guys will eventually read the transcript yourself and come to your own conclusions. If you read it and you try to remain outside of that low information bubble, you will come to the same conclusions that we do. And the only way we're going to get to a better work life for you is if you get out that low information bubble. So thanks for having me again, and I will see you on Friday. And have a great day.
Yeah. Good job, Marlon. Always excellent when he comes on. I know we've been waiting for that one because there's so much there that we, haven't discussed about that case. So it's very unfortunate StreamYard's having issues, though. As I would have loved to have. I did not. I just got wind of this video. I have no idea what he put up, Kaz Dodry. But so now, well, the producers take. So what you say, Jack, about everything you heard here today?
Well, first of all, I'd like to personally apologize to everyone out there for the technical difficulties we're experiencing. It reminds me of when you're at a nightclub or a concert where there's speakers all over the place, and then all of a sudden the speakers just pop out and everyone starts looking around. Where's the music? Where's the music? Yeah. Sometimes the DJ fixes the turntables. Sometimes they can't. In this case, I couldn't do anything because it would have required me to restart the entire browser, which would have shut off the show. So I couldn't have done anything to mitigate the issue in this case. But Eric Adams is going to go down as the worst mayor in the history of New York City and one of the worst mayors in all of America because of how morally corrupt he was, putting cronies around who were engaging in horrible behavior, because of how little he cared about New York City residents, neglecting their needs at each and every turn, no matter what the cost may have been, but also because he came into the picture at a huge inflection point from the city when they were recovering from COVID and needed a lot of things to go in their favor in order to try and recover. And Eric Adams actually made things worse to the point where whoever takes over City Hall next is going to have a huge, tall task ahead of them.
Yeah, it's I don't, we all saw this one coming. I guess I forgot to tell Marlon. I think he lost his bet with John and I about whether Eric was going to be the next mayor again or not, and we told him it wasn't. I would like to point out again that Special Hagen on her website, and you got to check out Special Hagen's website. She wrote an article about the difference between David Dinkins and Eric Adams. It was probably the best analysis I've ever seen about this. She covers both their faults, both their high points, which there aren't many with Eric Adams, and that comparison it's not there. David Dinkins actually wins that going away, and Eric Adams is actually the worst mayor ever, period. And if you actually look, David Dinkins didn't have any scandals either. It was just that crime and all that stuff, and they pinned a lot of things on him, and he wasn't really up for the position of mayor, but Eric Adams, my God, it's like, he's the worst of the worst. So that comparison is actually very weak. And she did a great job about that. So that just seconds what what you're saying. It's actually a good read. I need to get her website up and you could read it because it's in her blog. I don't know if it's called Hagen Associates or something, but it's definitely worth the read because if comparing David Dinkins to Eric Adams is it's Eric Adams in a landslide is the worst mayor in the history of New York City.
And Dinkins was also the last mayor to only serve a singular term. I might have spoken a little bit too early on that because Eric Adams might be stepping down at this rate with how badly things are going. But there's no doubt that Adams is a whole lot worse than Dinkins. Dinkins didn't have a sub 20% approval rating with over 50% of the city saying that he should step down. Dinkins didn't appoint person after person after person into the NYPD who had to leave in disgrace while the FBI was investigating them. And Dinkins was just not a total cluster. You know what? I'm not going to finish the sentence because I know there's a lot of kids out there watching who just never had law and order in any single form or fashion. Awful, awful tenure from Adams. And I think it makes us kind of look forward to whatever is next, even if it does happen to be Zohran Mamdani potentially, which no one wants.
So that's it. So go to HagenLawOffices.net/blog. You'll read that excellent comparison of these two. And really, I don't know how you compare. David Dinkins is far better mayor than Eric Adams was. That's right. Yeah. She points out he did appoint Ray Kelly as the police commissioner.
Yeah, I think I've lost track of how many police commissioners Eric Adams appointed at this point because he's appointed so many, and a couple of them have resigned in disgrace to the point where they just faded off into the picture. And also, you guys were talking about Shell and Kaz and Shepard and some of the guys in this administration earlier. Have you noticed when anyone is in hot water, like all of their friends, the people who were close to them, decide to abandon them? Jeffrey Madry resigns, leaves town like a thief in the middle of the night, like the Indianapolis Colts, right? When they went from Baltimore to Indianapolis. No one hears from him again. Same thing for Edward Caban. Like, these people do not have anyone's back. And when they're in trouble, it's like there's no one there to vouch for them. So this allegiance that they all have with one another is total crap. It's based on nothing. And they're just doing it to try and prop one another up when it's convenient for them. It's a total frat house crony crew in City Hall.
Yeah, this and the NYPD is run in the same manner. And now the knives are out and they're all behind the scenes looking to elevate Kaz or Tariq Shepard. I don't know. Whoever John Shell says is better. So, yeah. So this has been like a great rundown of everything. Again, my heart goes out to Frankie Palaguacci. We have your back, and I think all the documents, everything provided here was more of an intellectual look into things and kind of trying to explain it to people who may not know what goes on or tries to understand everything. I think Marlon broke it down as best as he could with that. But before everything else here now, we're going to get to the final party. I know you all know I went to Lone Depot Park this weekend to watch the Mets and the Marlins. A little conflicted because, as you know, there's the first day. As you know, that was the first game I went to on Saturday. That's me wearing the brand new Inter Milan jersey, by the way. I went there to watch, and that's the next day I was there. So I was there for Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, the Mets won 5-0. Sunday, they lost 4-0 in a listless performance. You know, I checked out. I had seats on the second deck of the stadium there and near the suites. There was that's where they have the Marlins Hall of Fame. They have the 2 World Series trophies. It's it's those were very good seats here. I can't complain about it, which the Marlins themselves gave to me, by the way. This was a moment where Pete Alonso hit this shot, and this was the last chance the Mets had. He caught it out there in left field, and it was over. There's the race. That's the end of the season. You know, it was a brutal thing to watch, Jack. I love the Mets. Then my adopted team is the Marlins, so I really don't win or lose when I go there. But the Mets, listless performance, $350 million payroll. You go 21 games over 500, and then go 17 games under 500 from June when they were the #1 team in the league. Very disheartening. Just unbelievable that the Mets would do that.
So back in the late 2000s, in 2007, and then again in 2008, to be more specific, the Mets had two horrible collapses. In 2007, they were 9 games ahead of the Phillies at one point in August, and then Philadelphia came back, staged a huge comeback, and ended up winning the division. Sal, I'm going to say the collapse of 2025, where the Mets at one point didn't just have the best record in the National League, but in all of Major League Baseball, and had a total implosion all the way around, by the way. It wasn't just one area or another. The pitching staff was terrible. The bullpen was taxed, and they showed fatigue as the season progressed. And then the lineup outside of Lindor, Alonso, and Soto did very little on a night-to-night consistent basis. This was the worst collapse of all time in Mets history. From the best record in Major League Baseball to missing out on the postseason entirely. There's going to be big changes with this team in the offseason. Steve Cohen cannot be happy with the way the season ended, and the accountability really starts and ends with David Stearns, who made a slew of horrible decisions to the point where I think that he actually hurt the team with some of the moves he made at the trade deadline. And then when you think about him not bringing McLean earlier, not trading for Crochet in the offseason, not getting a real center fielder. I mean, they kind of had a rotating, revolving door at that position the entire season. Same with third base, where Vientos, Beatty, and Mauricio were kind of interchangeable based on who was hot. This team needs an identity overhaul more than anything else, and there's a very long and critical offseason sitting ahead of them as they try and capitalize on a window where they have some superstars in their prime.
Yeah, I was advocating for the termination of Carlos Mendoza. I think this is not for him. He doesn't know how to manage a bullpen. Yet every starter doing 5 innings. I mean, I don't know what to say. It was really bad. And Home Depot Park is a fun place. The Marlins are, I'm talking to the Marlins. They're a good organization that needs to be run a little better, or maybe a smarter investment as far as their major league team, because they finished 79-83, and if they didn't have a bad week in August, they would have made the playoffs. They would have been past the Mets and past the Reds, but they lost like 6 or 7 games in a row, and they got swept by the Colorado Rockies. I mean, that's the killer. They swept them, but they got swept by the Rockies, who were the worst team in the major. So those are the kind of games that you remember, but the Marlins took a huge leap forward, 19 games better than last year or something like that. Whereas the Mets took a major leap backwards. And just remember that the Marlins, $74 million payroll, and the Mets have a $350 million payroll. And it's just, what can I say?
This is them celebrating after the final out of the last game. Isn't it funny? The Marlins annual World Series is playing spoiler to another team because they're never going to be making the postseason. And at the end of the game, they look happier than they did at any point in the regular season. Funny enough, too, I know you were at the game, Sal. I was watching it at home on TV. The announcers for the Marlins, after the Marlins won and the Reds lost to the Brewers, but they still made the postseason by virtue of owning the tiebreaker, the Marlins TV broadcast was showing the Reds popping bottles in the locker room, and they were talking about the situation like these teams had won the World Series. It was actually hysterical to watch.
It's what can I say? That was pretty bad. It still was a great year. I went 9-5. And I count either the Met or Marlins wins as I win because I root for both teams. I adopted the Marlins, going to plenty of games this year. And, of course, I'm always been a Met fan. And the Marlins have a good future. They have a couple of good pitchers. They had I remember they had Stowers out in left field. He got hurt, and the team kind of played offensively different once he got hurt. Ramirez, who might be Rookie of the Year, that's a guy to look out for next year as far as the Marlins go. But they're entertaining. Great time to go to Lone Depot Park. The area is nice. It's not like when you go to Yankee Stadium or Citi Field where once you walk out, you got to worry about some deranged guy might try to rob you or stab you or something. It's nice. Miami's nice. We'll see what happens next year. And I did see them on the field right after the game. You could have gotten a line and go on the field, and like they were making kids run the bases. They're a good organization. They try to do the right thing, the Marlins. But Lone Silence to say, Marlins have won as many World Series wins as the Mets in a much less time. Also, for the Yankee fans in here, the Marlins did beat you. You did not beat the Marlins. Actually embarrassed you. And I believe they won in Yankee Stadium. They're dancing on your old stadium. So
shout out to Josh Beckett, who pitched a complete game in the clincher of that one as well. Yep. That was an incredible series, because it was like, even as a Yankee fan, being incredibly disappointed and crying myself to sleep at night because I had school early the next morning. I think I was like 5 or 6 years old or something like that. That was an incredible series, because it was like watching, Goliath beat David. David beat Goliath. Whatever.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was like watching the little guy beat up on the big guy, and that's something that you so rarely see in sports. 22 years later in Major League Baseball, you're probably never going to see something like that ever again, because of the payroll disparities and the lack of player development. So that was pretty cool to watch when it happened. I do have to say.
I know that might have been the first time I rooted for the Marlins, and now I look at it now. And I also was there when they smacked the Yankees around again this year. It was fantastic to see. I as you know, I'm not a Yankee fan. I don't like the Yankees. Their organization and me, other than a few people that run it, which is the Steinbrenners and some of their management, they're good people, but they're not good at managing the Yankees. So shout out to those guys though. But I'm like Juventus. I don't like Juventus. I see the Yankees in the same light, kind of like the Cowboys, who I've been to Dallas, great stadium. Don't really like how the team is run and don't like the team. But one just side note on the Giants this year. Malik Neighbors goes down and his career is over, in my opinion. Once your ACL, it's over. It's like a car. When a car part falls off, the car's never the same again. You can replace the part. It's not one like it was when it was original. Malik Neighbors' career is over, so the Giants should tank every game, get a new receiver, and hopefully don't get hurt and change the turf and MetLife. I know you were at the game last night. Your Jets probably they won't win a game all year. They're 0-4. The Dolphins finally won in his new black uniform, which looked great, because I don't think the Dolphins have ever worn a black uniform. So, football was a little bit it was crazy this weekend to see that, but to see Neighbors get hurt, and I don't know, like the Giants have no luck.
Yeah, while you're on the topic of injuries, there was an injury that took place pretty much right in front of my face last night, literally like 5 rows in front of me, because I had really good seats at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Great stadium, by the way. The renovations were fantastic. But anyway, Tyreek Hill, I'm not going to show the image of the injury itself, because when I saw it in real time, it looked like a Kit Kat bar got like twisted. It was really ugly, to the point where the training staff came and put a towel over his leg. All the little kids who were watching were like covering their eyes and shouting and shrieking. Football is a really brutal sport. The debate that's ensuing off of these injuries between Neighbors and Hill, 2 really good wide receivers in the league whose seasons are over. Does football have a problem with the playing surface? Obviously, with Hill, it's more of a turf surface, and then a giant stadium at MetLife. Something that fans have complained about for years is the grass playing field, and how Steve Tisch and John Mara, you recognize the Tisch name, don't want to pony up the bucks to fix the turf, fix the field, improve player safety. This is going to be a big problem going forward in the NFL, especially as you see this uptick in non-contact injuries. It's a physical sport, so concussions, broken bones, twists and bends, those are going to happen. But now you're seeing guys hurting their legs because they land weird, and that's starting to become a bigger issue in an era where we have technology and resources to fix it.
Yeah. And one last point here with Juju saying Juventus is not Inter's main rival. Milan is, fake fan. Juju, I was born with like most Italians, like with a soccer ball in our hands. Inter Milan, who has been probably the closest team to my heart as far as soccer goes. Milan is your direct rival that they call it the Derby della Madonnina when they play. Inter has a winning record against Milan. We also have more Scudettos, which is the championship at the end of the year, and we're neck and neck as total trophies because we've won everything like Milan. Juventus, on the other hand, has almost doubled the Scudettos and have won under suspicious circumstances. And playing Inter is the Derby d'Italia. They are more of a rival because Inter and Juventus do not like each other. Unlike Milan, you live in the same city. And even though you might fight and bicker over things, Juventus has rubbed it in Inter's face plenty of times when they've won or lost. You don't know soccer. Stick to whatever it is. You're not even good with politics. I don't know what you're going to do. Trust me, I don't know. I'll pray for you. So I guess the last thing I was going to touch up on is highlight, right? So as you know, the Chargers, which is my team, they're now in first place. Okay, and I want to play a little bit of this is a great play here. This is David Irtubide, and there's Bradley, the track star from the U.S. team that's playing highlight. This is against the Renegades the other day, who we beat, who are the reigning champions. That's a little two-wall action, and that's how you see that. By the way, you could follow them at highlight.chargers on Instagram. And you could also follow highlightworld.com. We will be playing Friday night. So I'll be wearing my championship ring from a year ago, and I'll be there to watch the Chargers and the Devils play. But there they are. They're in first place after 4 games, and the sky is the limit. You know, we have a good team. The Renegades are the reigning champs, and they're 2-2. But we just played them the other day, and we beat them. And we're playing the Devils, who I believe are either last place or next to last place. But everyone's a good team. It's always good fun. Magic City Fronton. It's the swan song in Magic City. So, farewell to the Magic City after December. So let's keep this going. Shout out to the whole team. Tenard Davis, NFL Super Bowl champion Tenard Davis on the team. Bradley, Iturbide, Zuleika, and Arta. Great performance so far this year. So let's keep that up. That's a shout out to them. And I guess that'll wrap this up from here. Tonight we have the 10-Foot Tavern. Check them out at 7:00. I believe they're having next couple of days. Next few shows they have is going to be like Miami and New York. They have someone from the Miami Police Department and someone from New York. So check them out. They'll be on at 7:05 tonight. Tomorrow on the Executive Perspective with Rob and Ron, I have a hunch that they're going to get into this aviation thing that's going on. As you know, Rob Lukash was a chief in Special Operations Division. So he knows all what's going on there. So I think they're going to give you an angle that they probably know a little bit more from at least executive level what's going on in aviation or how that's being run, because it's a mess, much like the NYPD is total, but we're trying to fix this, That being said, I'm going to end it on that note. Check out 10-Foot Tavern tonight. Check out the Executive Perspective tomorrow at 5:05, where I think they will be discussing the aviation. It's going to be something. They're going to be mentioning it. And they'll give you the executive angle, especially because Rob Lukash was a chief in special operations. And some of this stuff is really like eyebrow raising. So with that being said, I hope everybody has a good rest of your day. Also, check out in the morning, Find Us Unfiltered. Tomorrow morning, I'll be interviewing Jim Walden, who I don't know who he's supporting anymore. Who knows? For 1 minute, it's Cuomo, then it's Sliwa. We'll hear about who it's next tomorrow morning. So, and I'll be back on Thursday with all the latest, whether it's what's going on in administration with Eric Adams, what's going on in the New York City Police Department, or whatever is going on in the news. So thank you all for tuning in. Thanks, everybody, for watching. If you can, like, share, and subscribe. As I said, if you're on YouTube, on Rumble, hit the Rumble button, the like button. And if you're on X, please hit that like button and repost this and share this out with all your friends, especially those that are low information. So with that, I'd like to wish everybody have a good rest of your day. I'll see you on Thursday. So, and we're going to always sign off as usual with your favorite New York City mayor of all time. So I'm signing off from South Florida, which, as you know, sunny place for shady people.
So this is a biblical moment. You know, when Jesus was on the cross, he said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. All these Negroes who are asking me to step down, God, forgive them. Are you stupid?